know what I want and I know what I don't want, and I'm not second guessing or overthinking anything. Rather, she kind of second guesses a couple things, but she's like, I'm not overthinking anything. If it don't line up, that happened. If it don't line up, it's not for me. Welcome to Rae's Corner. I'm your host, Rae, and on today's show, we have special guest host, Meka James, who's going to be interviewing me about an upcoming book and all the other fun stuff that she has questions for that I don't know yet. So that's fun. I don't
I
really
mean,
have
I don't either. So,
right. You like doing this. You love to pester me with things when I'm unprepared.
I
But I
mean,
don't have an introduction for myself.
oh, that's right. Oh, I should have done this. I should have prepared. Okay. So we're here with Rae Shawn, who writes across multiple genres. She does romantic suspense and she does contemporary romance. So she's sort of like a Jackass of all trades. What is Jacqueline of all trades? How would that go? Either way, you know what I mean. But that's her. So she writes more than one genre. And I think we'll get into it later. We're branching out to paranormal. Was it right? Exactly. So lots to discuss. None of it's planned because what's planning? Outlines give me the hives. So we don't do that here. We're going off vibes, good feelings, and randomness. It's how I live my life. I make an excellent reporter. This is going to be great.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just hand it off to Meka, and you can go from here. What are you going to do to me today?
We're going to find out together. So, all right, Rae.
Yes.
Um, so you have a series of books. They have a real series title, but we don't do that here. So I call it your uncovering series. It's really small world, big town, small world.
Big city, small world.
See, even you don't remember. You have to think about it.
I
But
did.
anyway, so for your uncovering series, it's going to be a total of 8 books, correct?
Unless we are adding some more people that I didn't know about. No,
You
it's
have a large cast of characters, so
right. But I have it slated for six. At the moment, I did not plan to add any more, but I know that some people have asked about some of the other characters that I don't have stories slated for at the moment. So we shall see. But currently, there are six planned scheduled books that are in that series.
okay. So 8, like I said. Great. So why don't you tell your viewers what the overall setup for the series is so they get to know what the series is before we get into the particulars of the upcoming book in that particular series.
Sure. So the series starts with Leilani, and she's this really shy, quiet girl who doesn't realize that she actually has this large friend group because her whole thing was that she didn't want to get close to a lot of people because she's scared of loss, because she lost her mother at a young age. And so we get to meet a lot of her friends through that series and that book, and we basically learn that friendship comes in various forms and it's a lot closer than it seems, even when people live far away. Because we can be in a big city or in a country or in a particular industry or take your pick and know people that we didn't realize we knew through somebody else. And so we uncover a whole bunch of uncover connections throughout the series about friendship, being comfortable with finding love and just like family and found family and things of that sort.
All right. So that starts book 1. and then it's led into upcoming. And we know my mind is bad. I probably should have made notes. Book, you're working
Uncovering her.
on book 4, correct? You're working on book 5.
Yeah.
Because the one you just released, Uncovering Her Petty, was book 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So as we're going through from book 1 to book 5, give us the setup of how this new couple, because each book follows a different couple within the friend group. So it's like a 6 degrees of separation situation, but not really the separation, but kind of sort of. But this new couple kind of is, because while they're in the friend group, they've known each other through other people more than they knew each other directly, correct?
Yeah.
All
So,
right. So give us the setup there. But listen, oh,
so
and also name the book because my
yeah.
mind is.
Uncovering Her Dreams follows Ego Adams and Sincere Emerson. And Ego is the best friend of one of the side characters throughout the series. And Sincere is that same friend's cousin. So they know each other. The two, Ego and Sincere, don't know each other. They somehow have missed meeting each other several times, even though they have this direct connection. But she had moved after high school across the country to go to school. She's a dancer. She wanted to go to school and be classically trained and do all the other type of dance training that she could in New York. So she had been living in New York for more than near almost 2 decades. She had been there because they're in their 30s. And something happens while she's getting her life together to be on Broadway and sing and dance, because she also enjoys singing for the hell of it. And so when this event happens, she kind of weighs her options of like, do I stay and deal with it and see what I can do, or do I just go back home because fuck this nonsense? I don't want to be bothered with people and their disrespect. And so eventually she decides to come back home. Meanwhile, the side character's cousin, he is a musician and he's from St. Louis. So he's never lived in California, but he would often visit because he's close to his cousin and she's from California. And eventually he wants to like plant roots because his childhood was really difficult and he did not want to live in St. Louis anymore. And he had been living, funny enough, near New York. He was in New Jersey for a while. He went to school in New York and did all these other things. And after kind of bouncing around the country doing he's a composer, so he writes music. He also composes music, and he's starting his own music career for the hell of it because had been writing for so long for other people that someone told him he should write for himself, and he's like, well, I could do that for a couple years. It's not like my ultimate goal, but why not? Try it out and see how I like it for a little while. But he didn't really have roots anywhere. And so his cousin is like, look, I'm married now. I was going to sell my house, but instead of me selling it, why don't you move into it? I'll rent it to you. So that way that, you don't feel some type of way about taking a handout or whatever. Cause he's also weird about getting things from people. Um, Shut your face, Meka. So,
In this show. You can't tell me that.
as he's been living there for a while, but again, him and Ego had never met because even when the friend groups have get togethers, she's either working or doing something, or he's out of town, so they never actually connect. And what leads them to actually meeting one each other officially is her apartment floods at the beginning of the book, so no spoiler. Her apartment floods and she needs somewhere to stay while she's trying to get her feet back under her because San Francisco is expensive and trying to find a new place to live is not the easiest thing. So her best friend is like, hey, why don't you use my house? My cousin's out of town right now because he's on tour. And she's like, I don't think he's on tour. I'm pretty sure I heard that he's performing at the club that I was dancing at. Okay. And she's like, oh, well, he should be out of town. Maybe it was a one-off thing, whatever. That ain't the case. He's not on tour at the moment. So they end up living together. And there's already an attraction because she didn't realize the random person she pulled on stage from the crowd happened to be said cousin because she had never actually seen him. So there's that. And it goes from there. Both of them, you know, a lot of my books, all of my books, deal with people who are navigating other things that are happening in their lives and trying to see if love is something they can also add to the mix because they are trying to um, come to terms with other situations that they're dealing with. So Ego is trying to deal, understand and see if she can deal with another relationship after the fallout of the situation that she had while she was in New York. And Sincere has never dated because of situations from his childhood, and he's just not really sure if he ever wants to date. He's messed around a lot. He ain't got no problem doing that. But he's like, I don't know if dating is a thing for me. And she's like, I ain't got time for games. So I know I'm attracted to you, but I don't want to just sleep with you because we live together. So they're dealing with that throughout the book.
Well, because you said it first. Um, I have read quite a few of your books, and there's a theme that happens with trust issues, keeping things close to the chest, even when you have a support group and friends and people who care and love about them, things of that nature. Um, so like, but so why is that something that seems to be with this friend group, especially? Why is that a thing where like you have these people who are close and are pretty much ride or die, yet the characters still have these moments of, well, I gotta do it on my own.
So I have had this conversation with you and other people throughout the podcast so far about like putting yourself in the book a little bit. And so I have trust issues because of past friendships where I thought, things were close. I was close with people and they use things against me and things of that nature. So we always put a little bit of ourselves in books, and I tend to do it in all of my books, I suppose. But I think also in most friendships, there is a level of like, I don't want to share everything because I don't want to cause issues of people thinking I'm a burden or thinking I share too much or things of that nature. So you tend to try and do things by yourself before you get to a certain point in any friendship, not just mine. So my characters, especially the women, they try to deal with it without asking for outside help until they have to. And even the men have a tendency to do that. They don't always want to share, but they are a little bit more inclined to do it than the women. And I think Black women have that mindset. I might be wrong, not all Black women, but like I think that there's just like, let me try to do it before I ask for help because I don't want to be the one who's always crying wolf or whatever kind of thing. And then you don't always want to be the strong woman. So at some point you have to break down and be like, okay, I need help.
Right. So, I mean, at least you recognize. But you're right. Like as authors, we do tend to, there are bits and pieces that will sort of creep up with things that are, even if I think initially it may start to be a subconscious thing. And then the more we write, and as people like read and get feedback, and you're like, oh, you did this, and then you did this, and then, but then it just sort of becomes like a thing. And, but what's interesting about that is like, well, yes, the characters that I read have that sort of thing across across the different books. The way they handle it is so varied, which also speaks to just human nature in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can put two people in the exact same situation and they will react to it and respond and take different lessons from it. So
Mm-hmm.
that is something that, yes, it's sort of a thread where like there is always that sort of like, I can't really tell this person 100%, or I have these friends, but like you said, I don't want to be a burden or this or that for whatever various reasons that got your characters to that place. The way they look at it and process it, and then how they come out of it on the other side is all so varied. But it's like it is how we are as the peoples.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I always try to do is never have two people like, yeah, they might be going through similar situations that a previous pairing has been through, but I never want to rinse and repeat the same characters. And so
Right.
they might have the same type of trust issues, but their upbringing is different. The situation is different. And so how they handle it is different. And I think that I pull a lot from things that I've read, things that I've seen, people that I've known, situations that I just kind of randomly hear and spin it and create something new from that, which helps make the characters each their own three-dimensional person rather than some random 2D person with this same archetype as the previous person. So
Right.
even though there is the fear of letting people in, for lack of better words, they all treat it in their own individual ways, as you were pointing out, that and it makes them have their own unique personalities.
Yes. And they are all very unique, for sure. They are characters. They stick with you. That's another thing. But something else you talk about how you like you pull from things. You know, we say all the time as writers, we get our inspiration from various things. Tell me, and I think I know which story you might pull, but I want you to tell me where which one of your stories had the wildest inspiration.
Oh, oh, um, oh, that's a good one. You think you know which one I'm gonna say, huh?
I mean, I said I think I know, but that's why I'm asking you. Which one do you think? Which one of your
Wildest.
stories had the wildest like inspiration?
I'm sitting here thinking through the catalog really quick. Oh my gosh. Okay. Like, what's the plot of each of these books? Why are there so many?
Because you be writing. That's why there's so many.
I have thoughts. I gotta put them on the page. Oh, but I don't know. Okay. I don't know if this is true because I can't remember the plot of all my books right now, but I'm gonna go with Uncovering Her Petty because so the plot of that book is basically she is now living her life as a single mother because she broke off an engagement with her ex after she found out he was cheating and he had a whole nother woman who was pregnant, and she's just trying to restart her life in a new place, which is she's from California but moved to a different city in California. And so she's just trying to restart her life, and her ex, which she didn't think she would run into. I don't know why she thought that. Also lives
The other
in,
ex, not the
yeah,
cheating ex,
sorry.
a different ex.
Her previous ex before the cheating ex happens to also live in Sacramento because he played football for the team and then retired due to an injury. And she just really thought she wasn't gonna run into this man. And on her first morning in town, she goes to visit her sister who is working for said man. And he happens to be there because they're friends. And so he was helping, she was helping, the sister was helping him with some stuff for his rehab center because she had that knowledge, and he happened to be there when Jada, the main character, rolls up. And that story, I kind of just a little bit. My sister gonna yell at me for this if she listens to this episode. I, I pulled from some of the situations that my sister had been through with a previous ex of hers and a child that exists. I love my niece, don't particularly love her father. And so, we went from there. I put a really big spin on it. There's a heck of a lot more going on in that situation. But yeah, I think that's the wildest one I can think of off bat. Is that the one you were thinking of?
Nope.
Oh my goodness. Which one were you thinking about?
Your Christmas one. The one that spawned an entire other series, which we're going to get to.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, 12 Days of Thickness. I put out, I don't even know how many years ago. It is four, maybe five short stories that are connected by a woman who is having dreams because Santa comes to visit her. And she basically had wished, like, her, what she wanted for Christmas was to be more confident in herself. And so Santa comes to show her that she has the confidence and she just didn't realize it. And he uses these random dreams to show her. And yes, my Endless Night series, a football series following five brothers, was born from that because Meka James and one of my friends who inspired that book were like, okay, so where's the full book? And a few other people also asked, like, oh wait, hold on, I want to know more about this football couple. Like, wait, what? Where's the rest? Where's the full book? I want more. And I was like, okay, I wasn't planning on more, but yeah, it spawned an entire five-book series, and there's at some point, I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but there's a separate series that's going to come from that because they have a little sister and her book is not a part of that five-book series. So yeah, that is funny. I that started from inspiration because my friend would just constantly tell me her random dreams. And I was like, girl, I'm gonna use some of these as a book. And she was like, okay. So that was inspired by random dreams my friend had. And then that series was born of that, which obviously inspired an entire series that I had to figure out how to make work because I'm like, okay, so what's this guy's full story? Because it more closely follows the siblings than it does their love interests. And there are five adopted brothers. And so I had to figure out five different things that were happening. Why were there five? I don't know. That was random because that wasn't in the original short story. I blame Meka.
No, you should blame yourself. Well, first blame the friend who had the dream, which inspired the book, which then I read it and I was like, but what happened though? So there's that. But I'm just saying, like, how cool it was it how that sort of ballooned. So like you had this first thing because your friend, you have conversations and she has some wacky dreams she shares, and she's like, yeah, book fodder, no problem. You write the book, then more people are interested. It wasn't just me,
It
but
wasn't just you, but you
more
were
people are
about
like,
it.
right, because that one, and I think that was the first story in the book. So you started off with the bang.
Was it? Wait, hold
I
on.
think it
I
was the first
think it
story.
was.
Yeah.
They all had a bang. Let's be honest.
I mean, they did, but
That's another.
but you know what I mean. So yeah, and then from that, you branched out to an entirely different series, born from a snippet from inspiration from your friend's dream. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of wild how when you think about it, how things can sort of like snowball, but it
Yeah.
did. So
Yeah.
then you and I both know I don't sport ball, but let's since we are moving into the Endless Nights book, because you had one of those that came out last year as well.
Yeah, it was around this time last year. Yeah.
Right. So let us know about the night.
Yeah. Okay. So in 12 Nights of Thickness. I'm like, what was the name of that book? In 12 Nights of Thickness, Alvin's last name was King, but I used that last name in a different series that is no longer up at the moment. And so I thought it was weird. So I changed it to Night. So there's that. He had a whole name change. Um, but basically what happens is that short story was like a really quick snippet of him wanting a second chance with a woman that he dated in college and accidentally screwed over because he was a child. He misunderstood, and I know people hate the miscommunication trope, but like he misunderstood a conversation they were having and he thought they had broken up, so he heartbrokenly started dating some random chick. Well, not really dating. He went out with her and media thought they were dating, and he kind of just went with it. And so in the full blown version of the book, we find out that um again they had this problem because he was a child. Like they're in their early 20s, and no offense to people in their early 20s watching, but like, or listening, but like, we don't fully understand everything that we hear, even when we get in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, let's be honest. But
Yeah, like I know people, like you said, dislike the miscommunication trope, but let's be real. People have issues all anybody on social media.
misunderstand situations.
The words are typed out. People will read like the whole meaning. What someone can say, "I like waffles." They're like, "Oh, so you hate pancakes?" Like it's there.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly. So she basically, what happened was that she was upset by him wanting her to put her life on hold to cheerlead for him, for lack of better words. And she said she needed a break. She needed a minute to think. And he misunderstood that as like, she don't want to be with me, and kind of was like, I don't know what to do, and almost vented to some random person. And she's like, well, we should go out to eat, and it's okay, you don't need to think about her, blah blah blah. And then, he's photographed with this other chick, and she's just like, oh, this Negro moved on. Bet I'm hurt, but I'm not finna deal with it. And she was an only child. So she didn't really have anybody to lean on but her parents. And she was like, I don't really want to do that, because you don't want to lean on your parents all the time for that kind of stuff, especially because you're trying to be a grown up and navigate your own relationships. And she didn't really have friends because she was very like work driven. She wanted to finish school and do her fellowship and all these other things. So she didn't really develop full blown friendships. She had like acquaintances, kind of, sort of. And so when everything happened, she just kind of shut down and went in full work mode and went about her work life. And um like a year, not even maybe a year, I forget, this book was a while ago, but some time had passed, and he's starting his, I think he's in his sophomore year, so yeah, at least a year had passed, and she's back in town because she had went out of town to do her fellowship and start her career. She is she's not an architect, she's a words. I know words.
interior designer
um, she is a
in the
interior
short story.
decorator.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interior. Yeah,
interior decorator and designer. So she designs the inside of homes, does restructuring if she needs to. She also decorates them, and she starts her own business. And so she's getting that off the ground. And he decides that the best way to go about reintroducing himself to her is to hire her to redecorate and design his house. But she doesn't know that it's him that she's working with until basically the walkthrough is about to happen. And she basically is like, I'm not gonna lose my shit, but I'm gonna lose my shit because what the fuck? And it kind of goes from there because she never like got over her feelings. She is still in love with him, but she has been repressing it. And we get to meet his siblings, and they all are, well, two of them are on the same team. So Alvin and one of his brothers play for New Orleans, two other brothers play in Houston, and one is in LA. So we get to meet all the brothers, and their shenanigans are like keep people coming back because they really love like the text chats that the brothers have. They be coming for each other's necks, and just how close they are. Because while they be joking around and stuff a lot, they are like, look, I'm here for you if you need to talk to me. And I think that Black men showing support and love to one another is something that a lot
openly
of people need
without it
to
being
show a
weird.
lot more, because it is a
Yeah,
thing. It's overshadowed by all the hate and
the
drama.
toxicness.
Yeah, so I like to try to write really positive friend groups, both female and male, especially because I only write Black main characters. And so I want to highlight good friendships. And even if there are problems with the family, and sometimes there's problems with the friends, but like, I think it's important to show that friends, like Black people got friends, because people be thinking that we out here by ourselves. And I'm
Right.
sorry, but that's not true.
I mean, and you do like. I love a good friend group or a good sibling dynamic relationship. I love those kind of side characters in books where you can you read about them because especially if you're doing a series, even if you're not initially trying to do a series and you know, read something and you like them and you're like, so this person gets their book next, right? Because it just brings the story alive when it's not like we write romance. Um, and yes, the focus needs to be on the couple, but no one usually exists in a bubble.
Yeah.
Even if it's the couple, like their lives aren't going to be just a bubble. So seeing what they have going on outside of each other is important. And you definitely, with your stories, do a great job of like showing their lives for the good, the bad, and the ugly, showing their lives outside of the couple, but also with the couple and how they always seem to sort of fit and navigate in each other's lives. And it's great, like you said, it's great to see because like you want that banter, you want that sort of breaking up, you want people who can be like, hey, like get your head out of your ass. Like you need those kinds of people
Yeah.
in stories or in the characters' lives. And like you always have that one where it's like, get your head out of your ass because you
Mm-hmm.
need to have those people there that can do that. Because like, you don't see it enough, and there's like you said, like you said, they think we by ourselves. They also think we don't love, and I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
and if you were to believe the stock photo sites, we won't go there. We
That
won't
part,
go there.
that part, the difficulty of
We
finding
won't go
a
there.
black couple on a stock photo site.
Can they not just be high fiving and being friends? It's gonna be okay.
High five.
We buddies.
Yeah.
Um. So, fun question.
Sure.
Of all of the characters you have written so far, who is your favorite and who is your least favorite?
Oh, oh,
And why?
who is my favorite? Oh, that's mean. There are so many of them. Um, I feel like all of them are gonna yell at me in my head because they be yelling at you.
They all want to be mom's favorite.
Like, hello, hi, what about me? But I'm gonna say Desire from Uncovering Her Hunger. I like Desire because she's just fun. So Desire is from Florida. She moved to Atlanta. She's a chef. She just be living her life and having fun. And basically, what ends up happening for her is she was dating this woman, and the woman that cheated. Well, the woman didn't cheat on her. That's a lie. The woman told her she wasn't worth her time, and that the only thing she was good for was opening her legs. And so she broke up with her and was like, "Cute." Um, and she went about living her life and doing whatever she wanted. She was like, you know what, I'm gonna have fun. I don't need to be worried about a relationship right now. I am gonna mess with who I want to mess with, and I'm gonna go from there. And so she meets her love interest Midnight at her friend's um what's it called, engagement party that she's catering. And she sees him and she like, oh, he fine. And she's like, no, no, no. I said I'm gonna stop sleeping with people just because I don't need to be just messing around with people because my ex made me feel some type of way. It's fine. I ain't worried about this fine ass man. I can live my life without him. I'm good. I'm good. And so what I like about her is that she just like lives her life very openly. And I don't do that. And I'm jealous of her for that because I am always overthinking everything I do, everyone I talk to, everything possible. I overthink it. And so she's just like, here. And her sister transitioned. And so there's just this love of like being yourself and living unapologetically, even if your family doesn't support you, and finding the friend groups in the found family who actually give a fuck about you. And she embodies that wholeheartedly, even though she's had this heartbreak with her ex who told her she wasn't worth a shit. And she finds this man who was not looking for love, but she absolutely enjoys as a quick one night stand, and then ends up running into again when she makes a life decision to move to San Francisco from Atlanta. Anyway, she makes a life decision. She's just like, I love catering. She was working like a private chef for a really wealthy family. And she's like, I really like catering and cooking and everything, but I want to branch out and do something different. And so an opportunity presents itself for her to move to San Francisco, and she buys a um a building that her aunt happened to own because her aunt is in real estate, and she ends up being near the photographer, which is the main her love interest. His bakery, he's a photographer and a baker, is right next door, and she's just like, okay, universe, I see what you're trying to say, I see what you're doing here, I'm here for it, but we'll see where it goes. And she just lives her life and has fun, but she does not want difficulties and drama in her life. And so she tells him like, look, we can play around, mess around, and do whatever. But I don't really have time for the bullshit because I have dealt with that. And I don't typically mess with people more than once because I know that sometimes that can lead to bullshit. So what's happening here? And he's like, I don't do relationships. So like we can mess around, but like, you know where I stand. And she's like, okay. But of course, it's romance. So
It's
they
romance.
like each other and they end up dating. And it's just really cute because she's not me. She is so far from me. Um, Again, because she's just like, I know what I want and I know what I don't want, and I'm not second guessing or overthinking anything. Rather, she kind of second guesses a couple things, but she's like, I'm not overthinking anything. If it don't line up, that happened. If it don't line up, it's not for me.
They don't want to be there no more. They don't want to be there. All right, so that's your favorite.
Favorite. Oh, okay. For my least favorite. That would be Alvin. I adore Alvin in what is his book? Fumble Recovery, which is the Endless Night series that starts it off. I love him, but he is such a child. Like, and I wrote him that way. I understand that, but he was just like, if you wanted to talk to her because you feel like you messed up, just talk to her. Don't play this game to try and win her back. And like, and to her defense, she just went with it. Like, girl, no, what is you doing? Not to her defense, to her detriment as well. Like, both of them were a hot mess, but he really was like, I don't know how to go about this any other type of way because how I started talking to her was joking and being really silly and goofy all the time. So I'm going to try that now. But you have a problem because she is upset and hurt by something that you did, even if it was a miscommunication. So the way that you're handling the situation is really bad. What is you doing?
Like, grow up, sir. Get a pair.
And he recognizes that what he's doing is not the best way to go about it, but that doesn't change his actions, and it frustrates the crap out of me. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And he just keeps doing
Amazing how the characters that we're in charge of be
right.
like, what the
Like
fuck are you doing?
we wrote them, but I think that the thing was like, I think he's 24, 25, and I don't really know any 24, 25-year-old man who actually doesn't like make full grown mistakes all the time and be like, yeah, I shouldn't do that again. They kind of like perpetuate it for a minute and then they realize this is really stupid. This is really like not the way to go about it. Maybe I should change my actions. But it takes them a minute. And like I have 24, 25-year-old men in my life that obviously over the years, but a lot, especially during the time of writing that and right before it. So I based it on them and their nonsensical decisions for various things. And if they're watching this, yeah, that was you.
You know what I found funny about this? It's like you had to think a minute for your favorite. But when I said your least, you came out instantly. This fucker.
Because I
This
like
fucker, and
a
here's
lot.
why.
I really like a lot of my characters. I actually like, can I give a second one that I really like?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I guess we have time. We have a little bit of time. No.
I really okay, or maybe it's second and third. So I like the twins in that series as well. The Uncovering series has a pair of twins, and there's a second and third book in the series.
Okay, I was like the twins in the football series, but okay.
Yeah, in oh sorry. Yes, in the Endless Night series, wrong series.
Okay.
I don't have twins in the other series.
I was like, wait, where are the twins? Who did I miss somebody?
Right? Cosmo and Parker are twins in the Endless Night series, and they are the second and third book of that series. And each of them, they are, again, all of the brothers have been adopted. So I wanted to make sure that I handled that with as much care as possible and didn't dig too deep into certain things just to keep people who are reading from feeling triggered by anything if they are also adopted. But each of them are navigating how they um are dealing with situations differently. And so Cosmo, I love with all my heart because he doesn't realize that he's in love with his best friend for like almost all of their friendship, and they've been friends since high school, and they're almost 30, and he's just like, no, we're real tight, that's my girl, ride or die, I'm there for her. And then he's like, oh, 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 I love this woman, I have been very close to things that I would also love to indulge in. And she's mine. I want her now. And it takes his brother pointing it out and like blogs kind of saying something for him to be like, oh crap, oh crap, I suppressed that feeling, I suppressed that thought. How do I tell my best friend I'm in love with her? Will she feel the same way? Will she want to be dealing with the nonsense of me being an athlete? Oh my god, but I love her. He's a golden retriever and it's so cute. um and so his whole thing is like, she does like me, I think. At least she likes like the thought of messing with me because we do that on vacation, and when we come back, we break a couch. So I think she
You
likes
can't
me.
just you can't gloss over Miss Rae
They
Shawn.
do. Okay, so they go on vacation. The brothers have
You
an
can't just
annual
you can't just gloss over it. They break a couch. Just
the
pointing that out.
brothers have an annual vacation. They go every year. They go on a vacation that's just the brothers, and ever so often they'll do a family vacation, which includes their sister, their parents, and their grandmother. And so I think it's like four
I
years.
have to say, them excluding the sister every year is some fuck
Well,
shit.
it's just the brother bonding, and they just want to have the whole little brother bonding thing. And she was also really young, and so couldn't do it off bat. And it was just a little weird and awkward. So book 5, I think, actually has them going on vacation with. I haven't figured it out yet. It's book 4 or book 5. I think I don't know which one yet. But anyway, they go on vacation with the sister and the parents and the grandma. And so you will get to see all of them interact, but you do get a little bit of grandma, which is a fan favorite. People love Miss Meal. She's based on my grandmother that I lost when I was younger, and so I'm glad that people like her. But in Cosmo's book, which is book 2, Second in Inches, she
We're
Jalissa
talking about breaking of the couch. Yes.
Jalissa's a pilot. She flies them to their vacation. They mess around on vacation because he has already heard these random rumors or whatever. And she's like, oh crap, what does this mean when we go back? And when they get back, he's like, well, we're still at the tail end of vacation. Why don't we wrap this up and then see where it goes? And she's like, we should stop. But meanwhile, let's break this couch. And he's like, say less, best friend. And so they do. They break her main couch, and they almost break a secondary chair that's in the living room. And he buys her a new living room set because he messed up the couch by accident on purpose. And it's great. But I love him because he's like, he know what he want, even though it took him a minute to realize it. And the whole time he's just like, best friend, I love you, and I will always love you, and that's not going to change. So like, why are we playing games? Let's just be together. And
We
he
love a man who knows what he
and
wants
she also
and
wants
goes about it
to.
in a respectful way.
Yeah, and she also is aware that she has fallen in. Well, she's always loved him. She's always had a crush on him, but she was just afraid of the spotlight and what that would mean for their friendship if things didn't work out. And so she was a little hesitant, but they figure it out, obviously. So I really like that book. And I really like Cosmo. And then his twin Parker is a whole ass mess. Um, he
That's putting it mildly.
he has taken the adoption situation completely differently than his twin. He held on to it a hell of a lot tighter, and it has impacted a lot of his decisions in the way that he views his relationships with his brothers and his sister and his parents and his grandma. And so, as he's navigated trying to deal with that, he was kind of sort of supposed to do therapy when he was younger, but he didn't. And he had eventually found a friend that he felt comfortable with, which is Sahili. And so, Parker, Sahili, Cosmo, and Julissa were a tight knit little friend group in high school, but something she was dealing with an outside friend impacted how him, Parker, and Sahili were talking, because she let situations that she was dealing with influence a reaction he had, and both of them ran to the fucking wilderness with the way that they then enacted, not reenacted, the way they handled the situation and interacted with one another. And so for years, even though when they were next to one another, which became minimal because the family was like, we ain't dealing with this, um even though they had the time to fix it, whenever they were around one another, they only made it worse, to the point of the same vacation that they went on in Cosmo's book. They messed around as well, and feelings started to develop, and then it became navigating that. And I just really like Parker because although he is a hot mess, he had valid reasons. He did go through a lot as a child, and as he started doing therapy, which a lot of Black men are afraid of doing, so I was happy to highlight that. He started to realize, like, okay, I really like my friend, and I really want, like, to make this work, even though she hates me, and but I still mad at her. So like, she needs to buck up and fucking take acknowledgement of what she did wrong too. And then when we do that, we can figure it out from there. And so they were fun. I really liked writing them, and yeah, I don't know. They are right behind Desire, because they knew what they wanted, even though they went through whole different situations.
They
Um,
did. But again, human
yeah.
nature. That's what, like, when people talk about romance being predictable, I'm like,
And I mean, like, obviously, a romance is supposed to be the two main characters, or three, four, five
oh,
main characters
but
ending together, ending up together at the end. That's the only thing
right,
that's
but it's no more
predictable. But all the
predictable than, like, you aren't going to read a mystery without it being solved at the end.
what's a
You're not
whodunit
reading
without a
a
whodunit?
thriller without the bad guy being caught. So romance is no more predictable. But like human nature, at least that's what I enjoy about romance for sure, is exploring at the core of it, we're exploring human nature and
Exactly.
how we interact with the world around us, how that affects how we handle situations with love, friendships, family, all that kind of stuff, all that comes up with romance. That's at least that's my view on it.
And I mean, we
And
can
that's
get
like
aspects of that in other genres as well. Like you were saying, you're not going to read a mystery without knowing who did it. You're not going to read a thriller without the person being caught and or killed, or if they're supposed to get away, get
something.
away.
There,
Like
you
whatever
know
it is
there's going to be
supposed
a
to move
resolution
out.
at
Yeah,
the end.
yeah. Like, but with romance, the one thing that is always consistent, like other genres, is they end up together. They
Yeah.
being whoever the relationship involves, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, however many there are.
Too many lambs to keep up with, but I'm
But
like,
like,
ooh,
the point is, the romance ends in a happily for now or a happily ever after, and that is the predictable thing in romance. But from there, the middle, the body, the meat of the story is going to be different. And finding the journey, realizing the journey, and following the journey is what makes romance so fun, because 9 times out of 10, a romance does not end on a cliffhanger, unlike many other genres. And
that part.
And even if there is a cliffhanger, there is a happily for now that leads you into the next book for whatever reason.
Right, like if it's a duology or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't know. You know, the socials. There's always the debates,
Yeah.
and folks want to like subvert the genre. I'm like, they're there for a reason.
There are certain things that are there for a reason. There are rules that we have to follow for it to make sense. That it is whatever we are telling you it is, it's what we're delivering. And if you a love story is not a romance.
It's
But
not.
romance involves a love story. There are two different
Yeah,
things. Because someone dying, your favorite movie, V for Vendetta is a love story.
it
It is
is.
absolutely adorable. I enjoyed watching that with you. Thank you for letting me finally watch it. But like, it's not a romance because he's
It's not.
dead at the end of the movie. And so,
Spoiler alert.
bruh, if you ain't watched it at this point, you're me. And that, I'm sorry, I just ruined it for you. Um, but like, I mean, I knew that going into the movie that he was not alive at the end of it. So that
Right,
is a
because
love story. That is
right.
not a romance. A romance is both people alive at the end and together, not with another person, because that is also a love story and can be women's fiction or general fiction or anything else. It's not romance. And a lot of that gets thrown in. Oh, it's a romance. It has romantic elements, but it's not romance.
I mean, let me see if I want to how where I want to go with this, because we're talking about terms meaning things but not meaning things. We're not going to do it. I'm going to be good.
You can't tease it.
Okay, fine. You write contemporary romances.
Right.
Would you your in your books will have funny moments?
Mm-hmm. Oh no. Okay.
You know where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
If we're already on the terms of words losing
Meaning.
their meaning, I want, even though you don't write rom-coms,
Mm-mm.
I don't write rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
But my view on rom-coms is that within the industry of over there people, um, main mainline people, words have lost meaning, and that label, it's like the junk drawer. That's my general thing. What some of the rom-coms, because we're talking about the conventions. So to you, what do you think when you hear the word rom-com? What are you expecting?
So I think I agree with Mia Heiselman, who I interviewed first on the revamp of the show.
Great
And
rom-coms.
she said that a rom-com is 50% rom, 50% com. And I agree with that because the point of a rom-com is to give you the comedy, but also to give you the romance. And so if you're not evening it out, then how is it really categorized as a romantic comedy? Like it, again, you've pointed out, I have funny moments in my book, but I would not categorize any of them as a rom-com because the comedy is just, it's a part of me. Like I will say something that's random and someone will laugh and I'll be like, that was just me being deadpan. Like I'm being so serious right now and you think it's funny. And I don't intend it to be necessarily like it's not intentionally funny. It is just more so the banter or the situation at hand through the narration, and people will laugh. But I'm not portraying my books as rom com in any way at all because they're not intended to be that way. But people will laugh at something throughout every book in my series, in any of the series that I have, because I'm
Because
just goofy and that's just how I am. But I would never say that my books are rom-com because they are not primarily or
funny.
50% rom-com and even or excuse me comedy. And even in that, I think that for a rom-com to actually work, you are supposed to be laughing at least half of the time because yeah, they're a romance, you're dealing with people's real lives, you're dealing with situations that they're going through, but it's supposed to have comedic relief to help you through anything that they're dealing with on top of them falling in love with one another. And if that's
Right.
not there at least half of the time, then how do you say it's comedy? My opinion, pulled partially from what Mia Heiselman said at the beginning of this podcast season. And I agree with what she said wholeheartedly. And that was her opinion. And I just added on to what she had mentioned because it doesn't make sense to me. Again, I is that revealing too much about myself? No, it's fine. I'm in therapy. I think that everyone should be in therapy because therapy is therapeutic. No, I think therapy helps us work through traumas that we don't realize that we're dealing with. And
Right.
therapy is really important to just process situations that you don't realize could be traumatic or weighing on you heavy. And so my therapist tends to say that she'll laugh at me and she'll be like, I'm so sorry, you're making me feel unprofessional. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, because it's the way you deliver things when you say it. You just say it so straightforward, monotone, and I don't know how to react besides laughing, and it makes me feel bad sometimes. And I have to put my therapist hat back on and be like, stop laughing because it's not funny, but it is funny. And I'm like, well, I don't mean to do it that way, but you're welcome.
You do it that way.
It's not intentional. I just if you
We
ask
laugh at
a
you
question,
plenty.
if you
Plenty.
ask me a question, if you ask me a question, I'm gonna answer it most of the time with whatever first comes to mind. And so I don't
That
always think
filter is
about what
broken.
I say. And so that can be funny. And the way I deliver a story. Okay. Dramatic comedy, as an example. I can't think of a movie that's a dramatic comedy, but like those stories are supposed to be hard to process, but then they'll throw the comedy in there to make you laugh. And I feel like that is partially my life as a whole and what I write.
I can't think of a movie either, but I'm bad at thinking of things on the spot. But you're right, because it's the way of processing hard information with the
Yeah,
comedic relief.
yeah. And I think that romantic comedy is supposed to have at least 50% comedic relief so that you can deal
I
with
don't,
whatever those characters are
yeah,
dealing with.
right, but I
And
don't think they're supposed to be a dramatic comedy though. But again,
no, that's a whole separate thing.
it's a whole separate thing,
Yeah,
right? But dealing with life, and again, the timeline be timelining. So
absolutely. All the time, no matter what. Every month, every day, every hour, every year, every
we'll we'll stray away from topics. I won't ask you the opinion on covers because that's a whole other. We could be here for another 5 hours.
You won't ask me the opinion or you will ask me the
No, I
opinion?
won't. We won't do that.
Oh,
I'll be
okay,
nice.
good, because we can. 5 hours is putting it lightly.
That's a whole separate discussion, screenshots, spreadsheets, the whole nine. But we won't.
I
We're
could
going
write
to
a
keep this fun.
dissertation on that.
Yes, but we're going to keep this fun. Keep this fun. So we're going to bring it around to something fun. So, uh, but we were talking about the conventions of romance. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that drives romance are some of the tropes, underlying tropes that can be in a romance.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the whole story is written just around the trope. That's a whole different discussion as well.
Right.
But the underlying trope that sort of jumps off. So, of the stories you've written, and a lot of yours are friends to lovers, which we'll go ahead and say. You have a in second chance thrown in. So we know already off the jump if you have been reading Miss Rae Shawn or her happy place is. But outside of friends to lovers and sort of second chance, what would be one of your favorite tropes to write, and what trope are you going to be like not touching the 10-foot pole?
Ooh, okay. Outside of friends to lovers and second chance. Because as you have said, those are my favorites.
Those are your favorites. Those are your go-to, and it works.
It's because like second chance you already have a established relationship, and same with friends to lovers. So it's a little
Right.
bit easier to dig into that. Um I think outside of that, as underlying, I like forced proximity. And I say that because going back to Desire in her book, Uncovering Her Hunger, it's strangers to lovers, they strangers to friends to lovers. And but they have this forced proximity because they end up working a catering gig together. And she is one of my favorite characters to write. And she's like, we can work this gig together. I ain't got no problem. You just need to keep your hands to yourself unless we understand where this is going. And so like forced proximity also makes a recurring appearance in a lot of my books because I think that it's
Because the one you're writing now is also forced proximity because they're living together.
yeah. And they are also strangers to friends to lovers. So there's that too. But I think it's just because it's a little bit more difficult when you're not really seeing the person on a regular basis to find some type of reason for a romance to grow. Like these are random people who are living their random separate lives. Why do they even like each other? Or even if they do, why do they fall in love with each other and end up in a relationship if they never really see one another, if they never really have a reason to be around one another? I think the forced proximity, um, even if it's like really slight, gives them the ability to grow a friendship or grow a relationship or both. And so in Uncovering Her Dreams, Jada, excuse me, whoo, that's Uncovering Her Petty. In Uncovering Her Dreams, Ego and Sincere are living together. And so they have to see one another, but the way that I circumvent that just enough that it's not weird and like, oh, of course they live together, romance, roommates. Oh my God. They both are working a lot. He's working on finishing an album and he's going around the country to handle appearances and performances and all these different things. And she runs a dance studio and she's also a part of a burlesque and cabaret group. And so she's constantly doing rehearsals. And also to add to the layer of their forced proximity, she's working on choreography for him, but he's not present through all of that choreography. And so at some point, they're going to have to come together again because of the choreography. But even though they live together, they're not always around one another. And so I think that it's just enough of forced proximity that it doesn't like I don't have to stuff it down your throat, but they do see one another because they live together. And you did that with the living together in one of your books, being married. I'm just saying they live together. And
Two, being hospitable as well.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Got
Yeah.
you.
And my least favorite, I think, oh, I, okay, again, like sharing too much about Rae Shawn herself, but I don't like surprise pregnancy. I've read some and it works for some of the books that I've read, but not all of them. And I just think it's weird and uncomfortable. So I don't think I could write a surprise pregnancy.
So a
Um,
surprise pregnancy, but that's separate from secret baby, or you
yeah,
it's
okay, so secret baby happens. Sometimes, yeah, that's a whole different separate thing. Like surprise pregnancy, oh, I can't get pregnant. Man, at the end of the book, girl, how? This whole book you done struggled and you couldn't get pregnant 6 7 8 times and all of a sudden you just have a baby. Don't get me wrong, that happens to some people. They stop planning,
okay.
they stop trying, and it happens, and that's absolutely okay. But if you are delivering throughout the entire book that they cannot get pregnant and then at the end, oh my God, look, I'm pregnant, it's I just it feels icky and it feels weird and I don't like it. surprise pregnancy, not surprise, excuse me, secret babies are different. They're also a little bit annoying, but a little bit more understandable because sometimes the situations
Got
make
you.
it
Yeah.
where
And
you can't necessarily share or you don't feel comfortable sharing. Like, oh, I have a baby, but if I say something, it can ruin their life or ruin both of our lives. Or, oh, they went to jail, urban romance, or pick a thing. Like, it happens. So I'm a little bit more okay with secret babies than surprise pregnancy.
you know,
But both aren't really.
here's where I learned things. Because I don't know, I don't think I was always thinking that surprise pregnancy was like, oops, baby, early on, and then they have to like work it out together over the course of the book.
That's also a thing. That is also an option. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, but then I can see what you're saying about the one at the end where there's been infertility. Because I have the one book that has an infertility
Mm,
line, and I didn't want that. I I call it the miracle baby. I didn't want to go in with the miracle baby
yeah.
situation.
I
But
read
yeah,
them.
I didn't think about
Yeah.
surprise pregnancy because when I think of surprise pregnancy, my thought was one night stand or whatever, or random hookup, whatever, and you're like, oh shit, our fluids came together and we made a human.
No, I mean, some people might think of it as surprise pregnancy being the same kind of situation, but if that is starting the book, and I think it's a secret baby, and I think that that is also annoying, but I can understand it for certain reasons. Funny, funny, way off topic point. I was reading a random, I don't know, tweet or maybe it was a TikTok. At this point, I don't remember, but it was like this lady had a one night stand with this dude and she ended up getting pregnant and she was just like it was a one night stand, like I don't know him, I don't know what to do, but she wanted to keep the baby because she wanted a baby anyway, so she did, and she has this kid for a couple years that she's been raising by herself. And then the man ends up like applying for a job and getting the job, and he ends up being her boss at her company, and she's just like, what the do I do? What do I do? Do I tell him that we have a kid together? And also, doesn't that create a problem? Because not only is he my boss, so that's a problem. We work together, and that's frowned upon through our HR policies. But we also have a kid together. Like, what do I do? And so there were compounding issues there. And while that's like potentially real life, because again, it's Twitter, so who knows, or it's TikTok, so who knows. But
I
like,
said, this is a book idea? Or this a real, it's one of
it
those, am
could
I
be
the
a book,
asshole
right?
post? What are we
It
doing?
could be a book. It at her life, if real, could be a book, but it was just it was so interesting because like I wasn't really bothered by that because like yeah, you have a one night stand. Oops, sometimes why did you not use protection? To each their own. But sometimes you can
That
end up
also
pregnant.
human nature. Much as we
Right.
put protection in our books, that's
Happen.
it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Situations happens where like you didn't expect to go into something, it got real heated real quick, and well, it's inside. And there was no protection.
Tripped and fell, and my penis was in you.
And then of course, pull-out game, don't be strong for all people. So it happens, but I thought it was I wasn't bothered by her story because like she wanted to have a baby. It was an unexpected pregnancy. It was with somebody that she didn't obviously think that she would be sleeping with, and but she decided to keep the child. And turns out that they end up working together. So it's a workplace romance, forced proximity, and
Secret
secret
baby.
baby. So like there's a whole lot going on in that story, but it was just more so like, well, I want to know what happened next. Did you tell him? Did you tell HR? What happened? Did you have to quit? Did he have to quit? I don't know what happened because I don't know if there was an update. I forgot to follow up. But like
I'm gonna
that
have to go see
kind
if
of
I can
thing.
find it on Reddit. I'm sure it was a Reddit post because Reddit be having some wild
It might
shit.
have been that too. Who knows? It was TikTok,
They be
right?
bringing stuff over. I know all things via Twitter.
TikTok,
It,
Twitter, Reddit, somebody's thing. But it was interesting again because I pull from like situations that I've read. Like
right.
there's so many random stories um during my day job that I have read for various reasons. And I'm like, that little tidbit there could be a story.
It's great where you can be like, this is. Let me take this for later.
Right, just that little piece right there. I'm just gonna throw that in a book somewhere.
You can start from anything. The beauty
Yeah.
of inspiration. beauty of inspiration.
So I don't know. But that one, Secret Baby, doesn't bother me nearly as much as random pregnancy. Surprise! I'm pregnant. How? And I have people in my life that know people who have that has happened to, like secondhand
I've
knowledge.
had that. I know one chick that I used to work with back in the day. Uh, I don't know. Like I know her medical, whatever, but she was an oversharer. She used to always talk about how she has this reason, whatever, why she can't get pregnant, whatever, but she had a one night stand and was, oh wow, they worked today. My insides decided to work today. I don't know how much testing she did on her theory of not getting pregnant before this event happened. I don't know. Didn't ask these questions, but she, yeah. So I guess it could happen.
Yeah,
Um,
it does happen, and I respect that in reality.
so we've talked about your romance,
Mhm.
but actually, before you wrote romance, you were doing the romantic suspense. Did the romantic that came first, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about you murdering fictionally.
Oh, fictionally murdering people is a lot of fun. I started writing in 2020 for funsies because I
It
was
was 2020. No need to say more.
right. I was dealing with all the things that are 2020 plus personal situations compounded by the things that are 2020. And I was
Right.
just like randomly watching something. I was like, this is dumb. I hate this. This is, oh my God, this is so bad. I could write better than this. And I did. I wrote a book. I mean, I don't know if it was better, but I wrote a book. I wrote a book and I put it out and people liked it. So it was somewhat at least decent. And it turned into a series that I have since pulled because I kind of want to play around with it and see if I want to put it back out or not. But it was romantic suspense, and I think that also falls in line with the same thing as rom-com, where it needs to be 50% romance, 50% suspense, or otherwise, what are you really delivering? And so the main character in that book was navigating, trying to uncover this huge thing that kept growing the further she dove into it, while also unintentionally falling for forced proximity, the man that she was working with, who just really liked to toy with her. He
You
thought,
can't help yourself with the
I
forced
can't help
proximity.
myself. I cannot help myself. Forced proximity is my second jam. Third jam, if we put it behind Second Chance and Friends to Lovers, but they were not friends. she was they were neighbors, so it was more of like a strangers to friends to lovers situation. And she was so bothered by him because he was just such a man whore. But she also thought he was really attractive, and she was like, I refuse because he a hoe. But eventually they end up working together on this huge case. And as they are working together and around one another more, they kind of start liking one another. And I had a lot of fun with that. And they are also, while falling for one another, working on this huge case that involves like human trafficking and kidnapping and murder, and all these other situations that are happening. And they're trying to solve the case and also decide if actually being with one another is healthy and beneficial, or if it's just because they are forced to be around one another while working on the case. And again, I pulled that at the moment, but I had a lot of fun writing it. I think I wrote like 3 books into it. And there was a fourth one that I was like, well, given world circumstances that are happening, I'm going to pull this series at the moment and rework some of this because it involved it wasn't just based on the United States. It had like Germany and Russia and, and other places involved in it. And I was like, make sure that I am handling this with the utmost care. And we know that books don't always age well, but I don't want to harm people
Right.
unintentionally if I can. And being indie, I have the right to pull a book.
You
Um,
do. I mean, and it makes a difference being indie. It really does. And I
mm,
understand pulling stuff because it don't age well. I've had a story idea that I was thinking about years before, um, that was going to involve the main character's job was going to be police, and I was like, then shit went down. I was like, well,
mhm.
we're going to have to make him a fireman or something later.
That also was another part of the aspect of the book. They were no longer police officers, but the both main characters had previously been police officers and were working as private investigators. But I felt like maybe I could remove some of the police affiliation and some of the issues that they had been dealing with before George Floyd happened,
Exactly.
among Breonna Taylor and all the other
All
cases.
of that. I said I will not be writing
Just,
him. And
yeah,
like his job as a police officer wasn't like a big thing. It played a little bit, but I'm like, I'm not even gonna. We're not gonna do
they
that. So
navigated the system being even as private investigators, they had to go at one point into the jail to try to talk to someone. And them being black and going into the jail, they got the whole issue with being
yeah,
black in the jail and how they were viewed. And so I did handle it with as much care as I could, but given again the climate of Black people in the police that has
yes,
escalated since 2020. Not to say that it hasn't been an issue for decades. Go back,
it's always been an
go
issue
back
since
before
the
that.
inception
It has
of
always
time.
exactly. It has always been an issue, but it has been um, overly saturated because it is a problem and it consistently is a problem. I just was like, let me pull this and figure out if I want to work this another way because I don't want to perpetuate harm that we as Black folks have to already deal with, even if I'm handling it and showing the problems in the area as they are, because I do have a family. I have family members who are police officers. I have family members who are in the military, and we both know that all aspects of many industries that have any type of power perpetuate harm, especially
Yeah,
to Black communities. So I just was like, let me pull this and figure out how I want to rework it, if I want to rework it. And I know that people are hoping that I put it back up and finish the series, but I don't really know how to go about that right now because again, I don't want to harm people. But anyway, I have another series that's
well,
out,
even if you don't do that series,
but I do
um,
finish the
would
series.
you like between because writing, even if you aren't writing romantic suspense, how are like if there is, what is your sort of like not really dream genre, but like if you were going to write something that's not romance, would it be like a thriller or a mystery or because I'm a one trick pony. I say it all the time. Um, like I wrote one book with a serial killer, but I probably could write another one. But
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot out of you to
You
write those
can,
people.
you can. Um, okay, so I pardon me. I also have a finished series, the reaction um series,
And
Chronicles.
that's just thriller. Or is there romance? Is there? I
It,
haven't
it
read that one yet.
I don't know if I want to consider it romantic suspense, but it kind of is. So it follows a investigative journalist and her when the series starts, her boyfriend, who is a detective. So there is that cop thread, but it's already a finished series, and I'm not pulling that one. But it follows them, and so she's looking into these random murders that are happening, and she is very much kind of like, how does no one else see that these seem to be connected because of these situations that are happening? And so she writes about it, but she also got a little bit of her information from case files that her fiance accidentally left out. I think he was her fiance, not her boyfriend at the beginning of the series, but I don't remember at the moment. That was also a while ago. But anyway, he had left something out. He was really tired and he went to sleep and he left these case files out. And if your girlfriend or fiance is a investigative reporter, in crime reporting, why would you do that? That was his fault. But she just,
First too, because there's a trust issue.
I mean, yes,
Just gonna point out that
you're not wrong, and they do have they have a fight about it, and there are issues throughout the series because of it. But she's just cleaning up, and she sees it, and she's like, I shouldn't look, I'm gonna look, because again, yes, trust, she shouldn't, and she knew she shouldn't, but as an investigative journalist, you can't help it. It's right there in front of you, how can you not? um and so she just peek and starts asking questions that she shouldn't be asking because she shouldn't know. And so people are like, I know it's his fault. And so basically,
you're putting his job at risk.
right, she puts his job at risk, but there's the romantic element. It's like, do they stay together? Do they not? Because she is having issues with keeping her boundaries where they should be, regardless of their relationship. Like, she knew that if she wasn't with him, she wouldn't have that access. So why is she doing that? So you have the romance of like,
Right.
do they stay together? Do they not? But you also have the suspense of, she decides to write this article implicating that there could be a serial killer in the Los Angeles area. And now said serial killer, who has been flying under the radar, is like, oh, let me take her out, because absolutely not. Why are you all in my business? And so it's a 3-book series. It follows the same couple and this serial killer, and you get to find out who the serial killer is, how they're connected to situations that are happening, and what they perpetually do throughout the series until the end, and also the development of the couple throughout the series, and as they go from being engaged to actually getting married to everything else that comes from that. And I think that I think that I would consider it romantic suspense because it does balance out the romance and the suspense fairly well. And it's more closed door till we get to like the third book in the series, and then it changes a little bit. But it does you get to see the relationship between the investigative journalist Janelle and her fiance turned husband Jason, as well as the serial killer for the suspense, and you get chapters from the serial killer's point of view throughout the series as well, until the resolution of the issue. So I really enjoyed writing that. And I think that more romantic suspense is to come, but I also have some just straight suspense and thriller ideas, as well as some paranormal ideas and paranormal romance ideas that I am filtering through in my brain that will
Jack,
eventually come to light.
Jacqueline of all trades.
I have a lot of thoughts, and they don't always fit romance, because sometimes the romance is just not there, but the rest of it is there.
And that's fair. Not everything needs a romance.
Right.
Right, reading and writing. Well, I again one trick pony, but
Yeah, you love your romance. It's predictable.
I mean, it. Look, we've been in book club. I'm struggling. I'm struggling. I was like, why didn't we end? Why, why didn't we get a satisfactory ending? But I am expanding my worldview because of y'all. It's fine.
You're
It's
welcome.
fine. It's fine. I gotta keep telling myself that. It's gonna be okay. But no. But like when you're between the two genres, because I even it is romantic suspense,
Mhm.
but like between that and then like say it's just a straight up romance. Like when you're comparing the two when you're writing it, like is there one that's sort of like not that it stands out more, but it's like do you get to like is it more fun to like tap into this other aspect, especially because like you said in the other series, one of the things I do remember when I was writing my first book is when you're writing that serial killer and you're especially as you said from in that series you wrote from the serial killer's point of view, it's a different mindset
Mhm.
because I don't know about you, but like when I write, like you have these invisible boundaries that like not like maybe morality, ethics, whatever you want to call it. You have these boundaries that these other people have to stay in
Mhm.
because life, society, whatever. But when you're dealing with someone that's unhinged, those boundaries sort of like
Disappeared.
disappear. So what is that? Like, I know what it was like for me, but for you, what was that like? Especially because you said from that first series, you did write from your serial killer's point of view. When you don't have those boundaries, how does that change your thought process when you're writing?
Um, so yeah, there are limitations to the boundaries. I think rather they have different ideas of what boundaries are in their mindsets. And so the series that I pulled down also had a third point of view that was present through part of the books. And it's basically you get to see why this killer, why this person who is committing abhorrent behavior is doing what they're doing. And so you have to really step outside of yourself, unless that is your mindset, to be able to write it. And I don't think I'm a serial killer. Last time I checked, I have not murdered anyone.
Glad you put that as a question mark at the end. I remember that, like, this woman said she was questioning whether she was a serial killer. Maybe she should not sleep on the couch.
You're fine. My couch is safe. I won't kill you. You're good.
Thanks.
You're good people. No, like last time I checked, I'm not. So writing from that perspective was taxing. It was a lot on the mind because you have to jump into a mindset that you don't have. And so I took a lot of time. I love watching documentaries about serial killers and mass murders, and it's weird, but I think that's also my day job in me. I am a journalist in my day job, and by nature, we are curious people. And so I have read a lot about random murders and situations that have like these weird methods of how they find out information. And I've used part of that information from documentaries that I've watched and series that I've read and all these different things to build my serial killer and her reasoning and Dexter, which is fictional, but Dexter was a big motivation for part of what she did. I watched Dexter religiously until it went off the air. I did not watch the last series, the last season that they rebooted to try to finish it because at that point I was over it. Like you took too long, but it was a big motivation and it was a lot. Like I was exhausted after writing those points of view from the serial killer because that's not something that I see myself like trying to figure out the methodology and the reasons and the why and the what's next and like I wrote on the page murder for that series and it was just like what is the killer thinking and what are they seeing and how's it making them feel and like it was a lot. It was a lot. I want to do it again because it is fun to an extent, as weird as that sounds, but like it's very taxing on the brain.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
Seth was a doozy. I don't know if I can replicate him.
it's taxing.
It's like, okay.
It's a
It is
lot.
taxing. Like you said, it's also fun because it's a little freeing because like their worldview is a little skewed. So you get to like be in that gray area where like this is really getting on my nerve. I should stab them with a fork, and then you actually stab them with the fork.
It lets all of your intrusive thoughts about situations be on the page.
It does. It
And like,
allows a safe outlet for the intrusive thoughts. Be like,
yeah.
I wish this person would not chew so loudly. Maybe if I just stab them in the cheek, kind of thing. And a
Yeah.
normal person would not actually stab them in the cheek. But if you write a great, morally gray or just gray character, they will absolutely stab them in the cheek. And then their screams, instead of the chewing, would be calming. It's that kind of thought process.
You'll be all right. Stop screaming. It'll heal eventually, maybe.
This took a turn. We get here. Hey, this got real dark real fast.
Real quick. It's fine.
We started a romance. Now we're talking about stabbing people with forks.
It's fine.
You should not be in the driver's seat. It's gonna be okay.
It's fine. It's fine. But I mean,
Okay.
I have some series where there are some morally gray and just completely black characters and not skin color necessarily that are doing some things where you're like, are you okay? No. I mean, yeah, they're totally fine. This is their thought process. But like for the quote unquote normal average person, they are not okay because the thoughts that they have just come filtering out into actions.
Right. Their filter is non-existent. Whether it's, well, it depends, because some of them do pretend and can weave into normal society, but when they're free,
Well, yeah.
the filter
Oh,
is
that, I
gone.
think that's the best part. Mm, use my wording carefully. I think that's the interesting part about how the human psyche works. Some people can absolutely blend in with no problem. Pick a serial killer that took years to uncover, especially some of the
Some you still didn't even find.
exactly. And they have obviously usually 9 times out of 10 integrated into society in such a way that people look at them and go, "What? Them? How?
It was
Never."
always, he was such a nice man. Was he? As he was murdering people in the basement and
And
stuff.
I wonder how many women have gotten away with mass murder and people don't know because they're a little bit more meticulous and don't share.
And people also underestimate the women. Let's be real.
Absolutely.
They're like,
Absolutely.
women aren't going to do that. They're docile. Have you met them?
Or women would only kill by poison, and it's usually themselves. Okay.
Or their abusive spouse or whatever. It's fine.
Okay.
I mean, there's the term Black Widow for a reason, and y'all still want to go this route? It's cool. It's great. It's fine. It's whatever.
To
But
each.
okay, we're gonna get out of the dark because that's a whole other conversation for another. Right. Bring this back to the light because we're writing romance currently. We're not writing the suspense things, but we're gonna get back to the suspense because your suspense is also very intriguing. And I've read some of the stuff that people don't have out yet because I'm special. Um, so Um, I won't do any memory games because let's be real. I don't remember what to ask you for memory games because my mind is shot 9 times out of 10 because if I don't write it down, I'm not going to remember it.
Same. Let's be honest.
And we are absolutely winging this, but we've been doing good so far. It's been great. So yeah, but what do I want to talk to you about next? Oh, I know. Because you mentioned in your other series that it was closed door, and like in some of your the earlier uncovering books, they also weren't super sexy. And I'm like, I write the steamy, but steamy, like not everyone else is comfortable with that. What made you do the sort of like the shift from writing more low key, closed door esque to breaking couches?
Um, okay, so I think actually I originally had put out 2 or 3 books in the Uncovering series before I pulled it and revamped it, which was a little bit more closed door or like fade to black situation. And then as I was writing Second in Inches, which is the second book in the Endless Night series, I got yelled at by my editor. If you just put the damn sex on the page, I was like, okay. And I mean like multiple times yelled at, respectfully, encouragingly. Sure, let's go with that. They are a lovely human. I'm not gonna call them out by name. But as I was writing, it wasn't even the second book; it was the first book in that series. And part of the reason that that one had ended up being closed door was like I wanted to put it out by a certain time and I was running out of time. And so I didn't have a whole lot of time to put as much on the page as I wanted. And they yelled at me. And so when I wrote the second book in that series, they were like, this is what I was asking for. And the second book, being Second in Inches, was where they broke the couch. And they were like, this is what you need to do all the time. Stop putting a hold on the sex and on the intimacy with them together in whatever way that you put them together, because there are some scenes that I like don't have in the book that I reference, and I have been asked like, am I gonna like do deleted scenes for it? And I'm like,
Who said a Potter?
eventually. But I think that part of that was like the reason why I went back and revamped the other series, because people had similar questions to that. Like, why is it fading to black? I want to know what they do, how it happens, like the emotions that they go through, blah, blah, blah. And I just, I'm a Cancer. And so we are naturally emotional. Ow, I stabbed myself in the mouth. We are naturally emotional.
We're
And
not doing actual murder on this particular call, please and thank you.
um and so it's just, I think, harder for us to like express our emotions written when we already express them unintentionally sometimes throughout life. And so, and I might just be speaking for myself, I don't know, but it's just like, I don't want to put it on the page. Do you know how exhausting it is to feel emotions, and you want me to feel emotions of fictional non-real people too? That's the Gemini in you.
No, I'm raising my hand to like make a point. Ma'am, you write romance.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut your face, because you also do it. Don't get into the fact that I have
This is
beta
about
read
you.
for
This is
you.
your interview. We're not talking about me. We're talking about you. This is
I'm
your
just
interview.
saying. Okay. Okay. Back to me. I decided to revamp those books and get beautiful new covers and kind of change up the storyline a little bit for some of the books, and put them back out. And so it was one, I felt uncomfortable because my mom reads my books. And so it was weird because I'm like, my mother is reading this, and I am not a relationship person. So I don't really know how relationships work. And so putting like that aspect on the page is weird, especially if my mother is reading it and then wants to have a conversation about it. Mom, how about no? But then like with
I mean,
people,
I feel that though too, because
I
when
want
my mother-in-law learned that I wrote, she's a lovely woman. I love my in-laws. I do. And she's very supportive. There's nothing like bit like, hey, I write these books. My husband is he likes to he tells people I write stories. And then like we went to visit, we left to go to the store, came back, and she's like, oh, I'm reading anything once. Backpedal. So I feel you on your mom reading your books. Because nothing like me sitting down and talk to my mother-in-law after going to the store. And she's like, yeah, I started reading your book. Not that one. Not that one. No,
no.
open with a porn scene. One.
And so like, and my mom is like one of my biggest supporters, and I appreciate that and I love that, and it is very like sweet of her to care, because sometimes people don't have the support of their family as
Right.
writers. But it's also weird if you want to then have a conversation about some of the things that you read. Like, oh, I didn't know you knew this kind of stuff. We are not talking about this, lady. We are not doing it. I don't. I've read a lot, and I pulled from things that I have read. I don't know what you're talking about. Go everywhere else. But I thought, after my editor yelled at me about that, and people were asking like, what are their emotions, what are they feeling, I want to know more. I was just like, okay, fine, let me like fully delve into it and really put it all on the page, all the emotions that they're experiencing through these non-closed door situations. And it wasn't that I was uncomfortable writing them, because if you've read any of my books, you can see that they are all varied and never really the same type of situation or emotions that they're going through. It was more so that I didn't want my mama to be like, let's talk about it, or her best friend or any other family member. My dad is like, oh, I'm going to read. I was like, you don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to read anything. His wife
Funny.
has
Wow.
read. I'm like, we
Yeah.
don't we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to do it. No.
Yeah. I feel that. Like my youngest sister has read my stuff, but we have a whole different relationship. My parents were offended that I didn't tell them I was writing. I was like, it's cool. My aunt, before she passed, she did. She was reading my stuff. She was also, and she was just like, "Yeah, I read that." And then she just looked at me and nod, and I was like, "Okay, great, love this conversation. It was amazing."
like, let's just leave it at that. But my mom, like, literally,
We weren't having discussions. She was
right.
like, I read your book. I was like, thanks, Auntie.
The last book I've released thus far, well, actually, that was second, excuse me, Red Zone was the last book I put out. And my mom made comments about that one, but Uncovering Her Petty I put out last October. And she was like, so that scene with the toy, and I was like, we are not talking about it. We are not talking about it. We are going to skate right past that, like you didn't read it. She's like, I'm just curious, like what made you employ that toy? And I was like, Mom,
Imagination.
Mom, love you. Shut your face.
Pull out the SpongeBob meme. Imagination.
Imagination. No, for real. Like legitimately, I've never been in an experience of using a toy on my male partner or any partner for that matter. So I read books and
Research.
read random things. I don't know. I just pulled it out of my ass.
Look, the search history is amazing.
Search engine is great. But yeah,
Let's clear the cache. Clear it. Let's
look, at
not
this
keep the
point, the
history.
FBI is curious what I got going on if they are paying
Please,
attention to
no. This is
it's
good.
like
This
she
this is
murder
the
people
main
and she used
computer.
toys in random places. It's none of your business.
It's not
It's none of your
random.
business.
It's not random. It's fine. It's gonna be glorious. We're all
It's
good.
really fine. But I think that the main transition was that people wanted to see more, and I knew I could write it, and I wasn't uncomfortable writing it. So even though my mom was weird and wanted to talk and ask questions, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna write it because it's not about my mom. It's about my audience and what they would like, and I am capable of delivering it. So I
Yes,
did.
ma'am, you are.
And so the Big City Small World series and the Endless Night series is not closed door at all. In any aspect of the word, you get all the goods throughout
They
each of
don't
them.
have doors in houses at all. It's fine.
Well, some of the events occur outside of the houses, so there's also
It's
that.
just open air. It's an open air market. It's great.
I mean, this upcoming book, well, everything is not inside the house.
So, as we're going to wrap it up, because we're on a great topic, where for your characters is the most outlandish place they have done the deed?
Are we talking these two coming up or all of the characters?
Take your pick. Yeah.
Uh,
I know I'm realizing when I write, even though my people seem everybody been I need space and I'm old, I need comfort. So my characters always need comfort. Like, you understand how much my back and knees crack? I can't be
uh,
old. I need comfort for this place.
so I don't know. That's a hard one. I mean, I can name a couple. So, Cosmo and Julissa. It's a deleted scene, so I don't know if that counts. But
They
I
can
guess,
be seen the plane
huh?
on auto they put plane on autopilot.
They don't. Or do they? Wait, hold on.
They should.
I don't think she does that because she's the only pilot on the plane. That would be really dangerous. But I would laugh. And I would see that I see that actually, like him being like, it's fine, just lean back. I got you, girl. But no, I don't recall that happening. That would be that'd be a whole nother level of taking it to new heights.
Mile High Club, Mile High Club.
But they do, like, while they're on vacation, they're outside against the wall of the vacation house while everybody is inside sleeping or doing whatever they're doing before they go on a family friend trip. They are outside banging it out on the wall. They also, in a deleted scene that I am going to write so people can stop yelling at me about it, get it in while they go on a grocery run in the back seat, in the trunk of the SUV that they have rented. So there's that.
Don't put your food there after that. Don't put the food there. What
It's
are you
fine.
doing?
It's fine. In uncovering her hunger, desire, and midnight get it in at the beginning of the book on the loading dock. Um,
You have a book just be freaky what's the word I'm trying to say?
I have a yeah.
Expositionist. They like to be on exhibit.
Hello. Parker and Sahili in Red Zone um mess around in her office,
That
and
death
he
scene is something.
continues said messing around when her sister-in-law comes in, but she can't exactly see what's happening, but she knows that they are banging it out. She don't ever say nothing, but she's like, I know. So there's that. I think that's the voyeurism that both of them unexpectedly like in that book. I'm trying to think the most outlandish though. I think um outside of those, I don't oh, you know what? In this upcoming book, she owns a dance studio that has windows.
Okay then. Can't wait to read that.
She owns
Ass
a dance
out,
studio
literally. People just
that
drive
has
by. Is that a booty? That's a booty.
and and I think the one thing that I didn't really touch on is that I'm not like your traditional plus size girl. I'm like your baby plus size girl, but I do like to include a range of representation.
Body.
Your
Yeah.
plus size to your bony, skinny, lovely women, and as well as complexions from your light skin to your dark skin. So that is also something that you see throughout the books. And
Yes. Definitely.
Not Jada. Why do I keep going back to Jada?
I don't know.
She's light skinned, but she is a plus size woman. Jada is medium complexion, which is from Uncovering Her Petty, and she's also plus size. And also in that series, Leilani from Uncovering Her Cravings is medium like complexion and plus size, and also has vitiligo. So I like to include all aspects of skin tone and situation, as well as body type and disability and all that, because I am a disabled person that's like baby size plus size with a
Not
me.
baby plus size.
Well, I am, because people be like, you're not plus size. I do not fit your traditional little 8, 9, 2, 0 whatever size. I wear like a 16 in some clothing and like a 14 in other. That is like baby plus size. I'm just saying that's not, it's
That
not,
would be, I don't know if Lane Bryant is still around. That was back in my day. Um,
I don't know if it is either, but I've been there before.
but Lane Bryant, yeah, they started at 14 up.
And I
That
could
was
fit
slim.
their jeans and they was cute.
Yeah.
They was expensive. They was cute.
Comfortable. I used to
That
shop at Lane Bryant
you
back in the
have to
day. Sure
struggle to
did.
close them. Sheesh.
You don't have to like suck it in to like zip it up. It'd be great. Like I can breathe and
Right.
walk and don't worry about is something gonna rip when I sit down.
So I do love the representation. I
Yes,
do my
that
best
is
to,
something I do like. There is the variety. You do offer a variety, because and age range too, because so many romances were or
and they're too,
young, skinny people, and there's always and even with the men, it's always everybody got like a 20 pack.
yeah,
And
sincere in this upcoming book. He's fluffy. He's like, he reminds me of Ruben Studdard and T-Pain.
I never, yes, okay.
Yeah, so Sincere is not your traditional six pack, extra fit, you can bounce a quarter off his stomach type man. He is fluffy, and he has dreads, and he's just absolutely adorable and going through life trying to navigate the situations he's dealt with. And people find him absolutely fucking fine, because people always think that it's just like, oh, it's only the athletic built, like super muscular man that people are attracted to. No, it's not.
It's not.
Give me like the dad bod or the bodybuilder. That's gross, but in my opinion, bod or the brick house or the running back or
How'd you
you
say give me the
know.
bodybuilder? Then you say it's gross. Damn, you don't really want the bodybuilder then.
I'm not saying me. I said people. Like there are different body types that people like on men and women, and I try to represent that throughout my books. And so, like the majority of my men, because like half of them are athletes, are more built. But like not all of them. And Sincere, it's definitely like my first fluffy teddy bear type man, and I just love him. I'm so excited for everybody to meet him.
They're
He
gonna
just
love
wants
him
to
too
be
when they
loved,
yeah.
and he finally realizes that he actually wants to love somebody else, and he's just like, and I want her.
Oh, we love a cinnamon roll and we love cinnamon rolls.
Yeah,
A
so
cinnamon roll that can make cinnamon rolls is even better.
he can cook.
We are here for it.
I don't know if he can make cinnamon rolls, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I'm good with them out the can. If I ain't got to make it, they're the
He can't
best thing
make
in the
food from
world.
scratch though. He does make her a whole meal because he loves to cook, and he has been used to cooking for himself since he was like a teenager. So he is like making food one day, and she's just like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Cooking. Are you not hungry?" She's like, "I am. What you making?"
Exactly. What's that smell?
I hope. She's not a cook. And I also like that. Like I like that reverse, quote unquote, that reverse thing where it's like women always know how to cook and they always do all the cooking and the cleaning. And he is absolutely like, I like to cook, I like to clean, I like my house in a certain order. And you're gonna have to deal with it because you live here. And if you don't like it, get out. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, don't get
That
out because
part.
my cousin is gonna be mad at me, but also get out because like, what are you doing? And she's just like, but a organized mess, it's great. And he's like, not in my house.
Keep your door closed. Organize mess in your room.
So I love circumventing that too, like playing with the quote unquote gender roles that people are expected to be in. And he is absolutely not with it. He's like, nope, I like cooking,
Yes.
I like cleaning, I like
I mean,
ordering.
it's true because, like, I mean, my people do cook. It was fun, right, when I wrote mechanics, though, because neither one of them cooked. It's two women, and
Mm-hmm.
neither one of them cooked.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, I can eat out or order in.
Let's reverse it or like completely negate it. Like we love
Yeah, I
not
thought that. Yeah,
having to
that was.
follow
I
the traditional.
remember when I wrote that book. When I wrote mechanics. Neither Remy nor Irene were cooks. Like Remy could feed herself. Push came to shove. She wouldn't starve, but also it was gonna be the basics.
That part.
Like I
That
won't starve to death, but if you want a whole meal, well, the phone is right there.
that is ego. She I guess a slight not spoiler, but just funny moment is like she tries to cook for him and she has her basics. She knows how to cook certain things. She loves making French toast. That's her thing. But she decides that she wants to try to make this really nice meal for him because he's always cooked for her and she wants to, make something for him for one instance. And it don't go very well. And so he like walks into the kitchen. He's like, "What are you doing?" And she's just like, "Well," overly explaining moment. And he's like, "Okay." And she's like, "But like maybe we should just order out. Like, I don't think this is edible." And he's like, "Let me at least try it." And she's like, "Yo, funeral, bruh." Like, and I think it's really adorable because it shows just like an aspect of her being in the relationship
And
and
I love
him
those
being like,
moments though
"It's
in romance where
fine."
like those are the moments in a romance that are the best though, because it's not like the grand gestures for me. It's the little things.
Yeah.
And it's the little things that also make them feel more relatable
Yeah.
because it's like an everyday thing. Like, okay, I'm not good at this thing, but I want to try for you because I care about you. I
Yeah.
love those little things.
And that's exactly what it was. She just like she found out something about him and she thought it was really interesting and she was just like, "Well, I planned on kind of doing something else this particular day, but like since I know this other thing, maybe I could try cooking." and it just didn't go. It did not go according to plan. And she's just like, maybe we should just order like Chinese food or something. He's like, let me try the food. And she's just like, please don't.
Please don't. But it shows though her wanting to do something for him to like sort of speak in like his love language or whatever, and him appreciating what she did
Yeah. Because he does.
for
He
him.
tries it and he's just like, you're right. This is bad, but I'm going to eat it anyway.
Like
You
it's
don't
honest, but also like
have
I love that, but I love those little moments in a romance though, because it shows you get a lot of insight in those little things with the romance. I think more than like a grand gesture of a this or a that. It doesn't need to be some big thing. It's the little everyday things that show the characters care about the other person.
Yeah.
And like I love those kind of moments. That's the best. So now I'm really excited to read it. Because we've been talking for like 2 hours.
Unexpectedly.
That's right. That's when we don't have a plan and we just gonna wing it, and it's been an easy flowing conversation. But since we came full circle, look at the full circle. I'm playing.
You're welcome.
We started with your upcoming book. We're ending with your upcoming book. So tell people again the title, when it's planning on coming out, where they can. Is it up for pre-order? If it's
It
up
is.
for pre-order, where they can pre-order it, and all those fun things. So let them
Yeah.
know where they can find stuff, Miss Rae.
So, Uncovering Her Dreams comes out June 1st. And you can get it through Kindle Unlimited or on Amazon in general. It also will be available for paperback purposes on Barnes and Noble, as well as Amazon. And yeah, I hope that y'all are excited for it because I am. I really like Ego and Sincere as well as many of the other characters. But I had a lot of fun writing them, and I think that they are two of the most relatable. So we shall see. But
We love relatable.
I mean, as you pointed out, I tend to write relatable characters for the most part
Mm-hmm.
anyway. But I think just some of the little things that they're going through, like her flooded apartment, burning the cooking, just like one trying to one up each other, just that kind of little thing, like little situations that they go throughout the book. On top of please read the trigger warnings because there are some situations that are very deep into this book that I would like people to be aware of heading in. But because he has had a tough childhood. But I still think that them finding love and navigating life is really fun. So please read the trigger warnings. But
Yeah.
also, if you are okay with the trigger warnings, then absolutely dive into that book. Yeah, there was something else you asked.
Where can they find you if they are looking to
Net.
find you on socials and such?
Yeah, so all of my socials are Rae Shawn Stories, RaeShawnStories. And that's Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, I guess, X, whatever.
We don't say that here. His mama named him Twitter. His name is Twitter.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not really on Facebook very much. Blue Sky, which I'm also not on very much. YouTube for this show if you're watching it, but also if you're not watching it, other little things pop up on there too. My newsletter is linked through my website, which is loverayshawn.com. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everywhere you can find me. So thank you, Meka, for hosting and
You're welcome.
asking questions that I didn't always have immediate answers to.
But we're gonna close out. So this has been Rae's
Great.
Corner, right?
Yeah.
With your host, Meka James.
Until next time, see y'all. Bye.
Bye.